Hello everyone, welcome back to Eternal Brews. My name is Pojo, and today we are looking at a deck that I've been working on for a really long time, actually. This is Talir Control, and we've had some interesting new changes with Defiance that allow us to run some cool new Planeswalker-y type setups in this deck. This is like a Magic deck through and through, or rather a Magic Draw-Go control list in some really interesting ways. However, because Eternal encourages unit combat a little bit better than Magic does, we actually do have like 25 units in the list. We have some interesting stuff going on where we are basically just generating like a decent amount of value with all sorts of cool stuff. We're drawing a lot of cards. We are holding back those cards and using them to cast counterspells and shut down our opponent's strategy. And then we're winning the game with Talir Unbound, a 7/7 that at the start of your turn gains the power you didn't spend last turn, with the ultimate of pay 33 to give her +7/+7 in Overwhelm and take an additional turn after this one. Now, Talir Unbound's ultimate does not always win the game, but it very frequently does, and with enough draw engines and interesting other options to attack with, and just good cards in general, like this tends to be the finisher that we really, really love. We were previously playing this deck with 4 Talir Unbounds, but now we get to play with 6 Talir Unbounds, thanks to the new site, the Praxis Arcanum, which gives our units and relics a 1-cost reduction while also allowing us to cast Accelerate, Refresh, and Viper's Bite as part of our agenda. And at the end of that agenda, we get to play another Talir Unbound. The more Talir Unbounds you have on board, those abilities do stack, so you get to basically just gain that power twice. In addition, we play with Temporal Distortion, which allows us to gain that power at the end of our turn as well, basically doubling the amount of power that we get in any situation. So Talir tends to charge up really, really fast, and Temporal Distortion is just a very, very good card for control decks simply because it allows you to play a lot of cards that you wouldn't be able to play as fast spells, and it always means that you have power up to cast cards like Long Live the Queen, Island's Choice, and Unseal to counter your opponent's stuff. So yeah, let's take a quick look at the list and go over why each card is in here and what we're specifically trying to do with it. Now, the central rule is control. We're trying to keep ourselves alive, we're trying to keep our Praxis Arcanums defended, and we're trying to keep our Talir Unbounds defended. And the way that we do that is by exhausting our opponent of resources, countering a lot of their most important spells, and playing units that tend to kill their units or spells that kill their units as well. Desert Marshal silences scary threats and ambushes small units. It's very good against both aggro and some of the big mid-range lists that need really, really complicated units to survive. The Fun Police, as always, does do its fun policing here, and it tends to be very, very good at its job. It's also a great thing to defend sites with, since ambush units are really, really powerful in conjunction with sites, and Desert Marshal can be given Viper's Bite or Refresh to be a more defensive unit. Auralian Merchant picks up particular cards, and our market includes extra power, a Scorpion Wasp, a Passage of Eons to destroy enemy attachments, a backup Temporal Distortion, which tends to be the one that we play most often, and a New Tomorrow because, of course. Extra power here does help a lot in conjunction with Talir Unbound. We can also chain this with Mystic Ascendant to draw basically a completely new hand and get ourselves into a very, very good position. In addition, this means that we no longer draw power ever again once we have played it, and we no longer need power ever again once we have played it. So in both situations, that's a very, very good win for a control list, and since we have a lot of card draw, we can really leverage that. Scorpion Wasp kills all of the big, scary Praxis units, really, really efficient, really, really deadly, and just very, very nasty, especially when you have counterspells up to counter the torches that inevitably get thrown at it. Explorer Emeritus draws a card every turn. This card is often a 4 of in the list, depending on what the meta looks like. The constant card draw engine is the thing that really helps Talir succeed, and since we're already focused on defending our units and playing threats that are very, very scary and kind of require removal, Explorer tends to live a lot more than you would expect. There are 2 things that really, really help though. One is that we can refresh Explorer Emeritus to give it a +4 with our refresh ability on the Praxis Arcanum. The other is that we can use Combra Healer to give it an additional 3 health. Both of those things allow Explorer Emeritus to survive Hailstorm, the card that we cast most often to clear the board out, and that really gets us into a good spot when we're not only using our draw engine, but also clearing out the aggro and getting ourselves into a much better spot. So that's most of the anti-aggro. Once we're up against the control, we get into Worldbearer Behemoth, which allows us to attack to play random power. This card can be given Accelerate with the Praxis Arcanum to allow us to ramp very quickly, and also activate Mystic Ascendant, which empowers for +2/+2 and draw a card. The card advantage between Behemoth and Ascendant is extremely strong. Ascendant is another card draw engine that we're currently using in place of Explorer, since it also functions as a beater, and it's just really, really powerful in that respect. Since this card is slower, we do actually like Explorer a little bit more in some situations, but in other situations you really need that Mystic Ascendant, so we divide it nice and evenly, and that balance has generally worked out for us. Finally, Talir at the top, and for our spells we use Find the Way to Fix, Unseal to counter spells, Island's Choice to counter spells and deal with large Praxis units, Hailstorm to clear out the field against large aggro boards, Wisdom of the Elders to draw cards, and also as a fast spell to sit on to fake out Unseal or Island's Choice, and to basically just give us something to do if we are just standing back with no power. We get to do this at the end of turn, draw a bunch of cards, and then that keeps us ahead on the card count, which allows us to generally leverage our control tools better. Finally, Long Live the Queen. This card is really, really powerful in this deck. Warping it off the top is extremely strong, and if you don't warp it off the top, you still get to at least counter a spell and draw a card. One of the things that I really love doing with this is just countering my opponent's Wisdom of the Elders. It's wonderful and delightful. This is a negate any enemy spell, so it's quite flexible, and the draw card ability is very, very useful as well. Since it's a bit expensive, we've run it down to 3, but I found that that worked very, very well for the list, and yeah, this is a pretty competitively tuned list. You can grind ladder with this. It's quite a bit of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it, because we're going to go straight into some games. All right, see you in a moment. All right, here we are up against Island. We've got Mochicone, and I've got the Island's Choice and the Explorer Emeritus. I think we're going to go ahead and keep this and see what we can do. This looks like a reasonable hand just because it's got a decent amount of power and influence. It doesn't have any green for Island's Choice, but we can probably fix that pretty quick. Desert Marshal being another green card, we're going to go ahead and toss that back. Play the Crest of Wisdom, then we'll do Wisdom to get ourselves a little bit more card draw and get things started. So, yeah. Second Wisdom there. Okay, so we're really looking for the Justice now. Unseal, I like it, but it's got to be Justice. We got to have Justice. Justice for my peoples. All right, Lingering Influence here. That's not going to work. So, yeah, I think we're going to just... Yeah, he's got the Crest of Glory here. Once I play Wisdom, I think we're fine. Praxis Arcanum is great here since we don't really have anything happening at the moment, so we can just play Wisdom, and then hopefully we get the Justice, play the Praxis Arcanum, and yeah, get started. Okay, Wisdom here. Find the Way will get us that Justice. Long Live the Queen's a lovely card. Let's go ahead and do... I don't know if I want to do Praxis Arcanum here since we already have like most of what we need. I think we find the way for Justice. Then we grab the second Justice here. Like the Silverwing is not going to be too hard to take down once we actually have our Justice put together. Like we can just use Combat Healer, or we can use Praxis Arcanum to pop the Aegis with Refresh. Mantle of Justice there. Yeah, that's pretty lovely. Obviously a lot of damage getting put into this. Not a big surprise. Let's go ahead and play Combat Healer. Knock the Aegis off of it with our Combat Healer's ability. And nice little simple trick. We're not going to get too out-aggroed here. Mochicone is probably going to swing at us again soon, but at this point we have Island's Choice, so I'm not very uncomfortable. Alright, 5/5 there. That's not a problem. Torch. That's a bit more of a problem, but not like going to be a huge issue. And now we have access to a decent amount of stuff. If I want the extra Primal here to draw a card, and I think I do, we're going to go ahead and do that. The double Justice works too, because then we can do like some other interesting things. I can actually Aurelian Merchant here for a Scorpion Wasp, and that might be even more effective than the 3-drop. I kind of like that. If I maybe trade away the Justice Sigil that's depleted here for the Scorpion Wasp, then we get access to 2 different ways to kill the thing, one of which is a counterspell, the other of which is an actual, like, awesome unit. And we'll see exactly whether they, like, deplete all their power here, or if they just swing with the... Yeah, swing with the unit. I think swinging with the unit, well, we probably want to go ahead and play this, because Torch is definitely an available option. Take the 2 there, not a big deal. And then we've got Praxis Arcanum and Scorpion Wasp together to deal with other 2/2s. and get us into a better spot.
You knew it had to end like this.
Okay, so Hailstorm here pops Aegises and knocks out the 2/2. I can Wisdom right now to draw power, but I think I'd rather keep the Scorpion Wasp, use it against Sheriff Marley if Sheriff Marley decides to get uppity. And that's a Sheriff Marley down. Alright, cool. Ikaria Valkyrie Captain is going to be a 4/3 Endurance in the air. That's something that we can definitely Hailstorm if we get the right cards together. We've also got Scorpion Wasp here, so no particular worries either way. Second Scorpion Wasp is great too. I've got the Praxis Arcanum and I've got the Scorpion Wasps. I think we're just going to use Scorpion Wasp here to kill the 4/3. Keep ourselves in control of this match. Okay. Wasp, 4/3, block. Good to go. Everything's looking fun. Okay, so let me adjust this camera a little bit here, since it's just a little bit high, and then, yeah, there we go.
You knew it had to
Sheriff Marley, yet more silencing. Not a huge deal here, since we've got like a decent amount of other stuff going on. I can give some weird skills to some weird things. I think we're probably going to go with Praxis Arcanum, and I kind of like Refresh on the 0/4. Although popping the Aegis on Sheriff Marley is also good. Let's just go with Refresh on the 0/4. Go ahead and end my turn, and then we'll play the Scorpion Wasp if we need to get into a better spot. But we have a good blocker here, and we have the Scorpion Wasp as well, so I'm not too worried. Wasp kills Marley. 0/8 blocks the 2/1. And the Praxis Arcanum is left untouched, which is pretty handy. Accelerate doesn't really work on anything here, but maybe it'll be good if we get a good draw. Chemo is gonna stand in the way of some things. And with that hand, it's gonna be pretty hard to draw like the Hailstorm that we need or anything along those lines. We can certainly go ahead and try. We'll play the Viper's Bite here. Unfortunately, it can't be played on enemy units like Refresh can to be popping Aegises. Explorer Emeritus gets to draw a card here. And Combray Healer provides another blocker, which does allow us to stay alive for another turn if we choose to. Long Live the Queen is pretty reasonable too, but I kind of like the Combray Healer here since it allows us to like pop the Aegis on the 2/1, or maybe just sweep Chemo. I think we're going to go ahead and just make it as a blocker for the 2/1. That makes the most sense here since my opponent's probably going to be attacking. Okay. The Find the Way signals that I don't have any tricks or anything cool going on, but I mean, we're basically getting really close to the Praxis Arcanum, so it's not a huge deal. We've got a decent amount of stuff available, and maybe we'll get something cool down. Alright, just the 2/2 at us. Swinging for the Arcanum. Arcanum here gets Accelerate, which not a particularly important part of the whole setup. And from here we get to draw a card, see if we can find our Hailstorm. Got it. So we use the Hailstorm to pop everything. And that leaves us with a functioning Arcanum and a Long Live the Queen up. I'll go ahead and find the way for another time. We can hold that and trade it into the market, or we can play it to get ourselves a little bit more power for something else. Justice there. This all looks pretty good. Like, I'd say that there's not a lot of chance that he can actually get rid of our card here. Crownwatch Paladin gets a weapon. Oh, right, when you attack the enemy player with one unit. Huh. I'm not sure if he realized that Talir can't be used to hit sites. That's unfortunate, but yeah. At least Talir has a weakness now. Good to know, good to know. Mystic Ascendant gets us extra power, and we do have a Talir active, so that feels pretty strong. I'll go ahead and play the Mystic Ascendant here, since we've already got the Long Live the Queen available. We can play a second Praxis Arcanum, but I'm going to wait for at least one turn, even though the Accelerate on the Worldbearer is pretty strong. Actually, with the Accelerate on the Worldbearer, I'm kind of tempted to just go ahead and roll the next Arcanum. Or we could just play the Worldbearer. That's actually also a pretty good idea. So the 6/6 and Talut trade with each other. Worldbearer would allow us to do that too. Yeah, you know, I think we're going to go ahead and play our Arcanum. Since Talut gets a bunch of benefits from attacking me directly, he's going to be pretty hard-pressed to actually attack into us. I don't think that there's a spell that really saves him here. Maybe a Harsh Rule, something along those lines could be good, but an Accelerate Worldbearer Behemoth is pretty worth it, and like, I don't think this deck is running Harsh Rule, so we'll just chump block Talut if it attacks the site, and if it attacks us directly, That's a little bit worse, but we've got some potential answers there.
Face judgment.
I could have also used the Viper's Bite there on the 2/5. That would have been probably a better choice, since that would allow us to get the Combre healer to a good spot. Okay, so 2/5 there. Charge Worldbearer Behemoth. Crest of Order. Nothing happening there. We don't want that Crest. Keep the 7/7 back, keep the 2/5 back, and attack with these two. That gets us a 10/10. That feels pretty strong. Worldbearer Behemoth looks ridiculous, so I think we've got the better of this situation by a pretty large margin. Alright, cool. Those two knocked down, and Mystic Ascendant gone, but we got the card draw, and we have the extra power. Combre Healer doesn't seem to be necessary here. We can use it to pop an Aegis later if we need to. I've got the Long Live the Queen, so I'm not particularly worried about anything crazy happening. And what do you know? We actually picked up Temporal Distortion. So a refresh here on the Worldbearer looks lovely. Just keep it a little healthier in case of some sort of problem. Temporal Distortion, attack for 6. Keep Talir back as always. I don't think there's any sort of like fast spell response that really hurts Talir here, but it doesn't hurt to be safe. Island's Choice plus Long of the Queen seems like a pretty good deal. We'll go ahead and keep that. I'd like some card draw, but more counter spells doesn't hurt, and this also kills Talut and some of the other scary things that Mochikun can actually play. Okay. So the agenda's fulfilled. Talir's going to be active. I'm not sure if it's this turn. I think it's next turn. Yeah, we get 28 here, and then the second Talir's out.
So many.
Go ahead and play the time now, and attack for 6. Gets us plenty of power, and then we get to activate Talir and go in next turn. Another counterspell. This one actually pretty good. I kind of like it. I think we'll probably just throw it back. I think we've got enough counterspells at the moment. Another Praxis Arcanum. That's pretty fun, but not super necessary. I think we're good to go. Alright, swing in for 6. Go ahead and end my turn. And we'll see what our opponent chooses to do, but I think we're going to get to take our extra turn here. Island's Choice and Long Live the Queen are both great here, but definitely Long Live the Queen. So counterspell that. Draw ourselves a new card. And then Talir gets to go active. We've actually got enough to go twice.
I see.
I've always wanted to figure out what happens if we go twice. I'm going to take the additional turn right now just to see if we get 3 turns. I haven't actually figured this out yet, so take the additional turn. Just to see. Like, we've actually been meaning to experiment with this for a little bit. Okay, so we get to draw the card. And I do get an additional turn after that one. Good, we learned something. Let's go ahead and kill our opponent now. Thank you to our opponent for being very patient with us while we learned a thing. Anyways, we play a bunch of power. This is pretty ridiculous, and active Talir is good news, so I'm gonna go ahead and run right through it. Torch to face! Ah! Alright, that's lethal. Good stuff. Alright, here we are up against Denton 95. We got Crest of Order, Primal Sigil, Explorer Emeritus, Desert Marshal. No time here, and that's pretty rough. It's harder to get influence than it is to get power in this deck. So, like, even though Crest Primal is usually kind of playable, it's not terribly playable on first. We can definitely try for a better hand. Okay, so this time we got better fixing, find the way here to grab blue, and Praxis Arcanum as well, so certainly don't feel bad about that. I would like to get a little bit more going on here, since find the way is not the most efficient way to get influence and power together, but we've at least got a nice early start. Explorer Emeritus, a lovely card. Can't really play it here, and it's also a little slow, and we're trying not to draw more slow cards while we're playing Find the Way to sort of seek for things that we need. So we'll go ahead and find the way here. Another Primal gets us Hailstorm access, which is going to be useful against Praxis-y tokens, which this might be. This might also be Praxis-y midrange. Praxis-y tokens usually plays Granted and Drone on turn 1. But there's a Temple Scribe, so nothing crazy happening yet. Go ahead and play the Primal here. Aurelian Merchant can trade either the Find the Way or the Desert Marshal for something. I can also play Desert Marshal as like an ambush and then play Praxis Arcanum next turn, which might be better if I want to get like a good defense up. I kind of like that idea. It's a little bit risky because I'd have to like, our opponent would have to play something, but like there could be an Amaran Stinger. There's some interesting 3-drop charges that are like really rough, and I kind of am into the idea of actually having an answer to that, as well as protecting our Praxis Arcanum with something that we can actually use the refresh on or the accelerate. Okay, Desert Marshal there, no blocks. Doesn't seem to be a lot of reason to do that. And Assembly Line. Okay, so we're not going to play Praxis Arcanum at all. We're going to play a depleted Primal, and we're going to Hailstorm this whole mess. Crest of Wisdom is also a depleted Primal, and I think I like that better. Another Time Sigil. I really like power here, but I think we're going to just Hailstorm it out. Okay, so Merchant can grab Passage, which is going to be really useful against the standard, like, sort of Obelisk fare. There's some interesting options there. Aurelian Merchant, I think, is not the play here. Once again, I think it's Desert Marshal, and then probably give it Deadly. Talir Unbound is interesting. Actually, we can play Desert Marshal and Praxis Arcanum in the same turn, so why don't we go ahead and do the Merchant trade? Trade the depleted Sigil, or better yet, the Find the Way, since that's also a depleted Sigil, it's just slower, for Temporal Distortion, which is super strong, or Passage of Eons, which is also pretty crazy. Kind of like Scorpion Wasp here, actually. That gets us the Sandstorm Titan, and it allows us to play Praxis Arcanum and just, like, refresh a 0/4. Seems like a reasonable play. Alright, Amber Waystone there, into Obelisk. We did know that was a possibility, that's okay. We're feeling pretty good about our lives right now. So Praxis Arcanum. Go ahead and use Refresh early. And I have both Desert Marshal and Scorpion Wasp here, so we can play both of them if we need to. For the moment, we're just going to end our turn. Amber Waystone, probably not doing anything crazy. This looks like a Heart of the Vault to me. I think I'm probably going to want to go ahead and drop the Scorpion Wasp in front. Alright, that's down. Heart of the Vault can still damage the actual site, which sounds fairly likely at this point. Sure. And since this deck doesn't really have a lot of, like, Overwhelm units or crazy nonsense going on, we're probably just going to silence that, so it can't come back with Stirring Sands, and then we can give it Deadly to have an answer that's going to be pretty effective. Viper's Bite. Keeping our stuff alive. Primal Sigil here. I'd love to play Talir here, but I think with the Unseal... Honestly, it is Praxis, so the chance that there's actually an answer for Talir is... it's going to be unit-based if it is an answer. It's probably going to be something like Predatory Carnosaur. I feel pretty good about playing Talir down and just sort of getting her out.
So many.
I'd like to have the Unseal up when we do it, but I just don't think that there's going to be anything. Yep, Assembly Line for a bunch of dudes. Our agenda's already fulfilled. We could have basically unsealed the Assembly Line, but as far as things go, I think we're mostly okay. Second Praxis Arcanum doesn't get us anywhere, and unfortunately that's probably going to be the end of our Arcanum just before Talir pops out. But that does mean that he spends an entire turn that he should be spending, like, blowing me up with little tokens, trying to kill my site. So, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. We just get to do this, and this, and this, and I don't even actually have to block that. We can just take it all to the site. It's not a big deal. There's no Overwhelm. Nothing crazy happening there, so don't even need to risk the 0/8 in this situation. Alright, cool. Mystic Ascendant, that's a big card, and it's a big card that actually does a lot of scary things. I think we need to silence it.
Think you can escape me?
And at that point, we can then play another Praxis Arcanum if we want to get a Deadly unit. Could be pretty reasonable at this point. Gonna keep distracting him, keep basically just keeping our health intact while we play Talir to the point where we can actually get our extra turn. Time Sigil there, nothing too crazy happening. The attack, is it going to be pointed at our side again? It is. Okay, cool. So we get to kill more tokens. And all of this is damage that could be aimed at our face, so I'm fairly psyched about this. Doesn't seem all that bad. Plus we get the Mystic Ascendant down. And a Scorpion Wasp to kill some 3/3s. Not too bad. Go ahead and end my turn. I'm really worried about Predatory Carnosaur, but we now have the Scorpion Wasp, so we're not in as much danger from that. Worldbearer Behemoth is a big ol' monster. Nothing we can do about that. Go ahead and play Crest of Wisdom. Wisdom of the Elders is absolutely a card that I want right now, so we're good to go there. Go ahead and end my turn. Scorpion Wasp can kill the 8/9, and then after that it's off to the races. Walk there. There's a torch, we unseal it. But my opponent doesn't even want to see the extra turns. 14, 28. I mean, it's not quite lethal, but with the wisdom, it probably would be, so I don't feel too bad about that. Alright, here we are up against Gamer Medic. One more game, Crest of Wisdom, and Desert Marshal. The double crests plus the draw here probably make this worth it. I do want the green for Desert Marshal, but I've got double blue, I've got double time. I think we're comfy with this. It's a little bit awkward because it's slow, but with the 2 wisdoms in hand, we get so much like value out of this. As long as it's not an aggro deck, we're in good shape. And if we get green, then we can potentially do something against the aggro deck by playing Desert Marshal into Praxis Arcanum. So we'll see what we can do with this. This is definitely a little bit risky if my opponent is playing like super aggressive, but it looks like we might be up against Praxis tokens again, so that doesn't feel too bad. Crest of Order is extra justice. Now we need undepleted power so we can play our wisdom and our other stuff. Another Crest of Order. I'll take depleted power here. Undepleted power is better, but certainly every power counts, and we want to keep playing power every turn because that is how we basically get a little bit stronger. But you miss your power drops, then you have some problems, especially against control lists, as I think Gamer Medic is attesting. So we'll go ahead and play our Combre Healer there, and yeah, I think we get to just seize this game. Wisdom of the Elders gets us somewhere, Combre Healer gets us somewhere. Learned Herbalist is like a life force activator, but not like a super important one. Praxis doesn't have a lot of things that I want a Desert Marshal, so I'm tempted to just hit this right now, since we are probably going to be playing Wisdom next turn. Yeah, let's silence it. That's a little bit wasteful, but I don't want to play Combre Healer this turn, and I think we're good to just do our draws. Now, keeping of Long of the Queen is a really interesting question. Praxis is much more mid-rangey, so we don't need as many counterspells. We also have a lot of card draw right now. We have the Wisdom of the Elders. I want to get more power, so this increases our chance of drawing power if we put it on the bottom. On the other hand, it's a very powerful card. I think since we're already ahead on power, this would be reasonable, but it's big enough that I'm probably going to go ahead and toss it back for now. Combre Healer can be played, but we're going to use Wisdom because we want to keep Unseal up in case something big happens, and we want to actually Wisdom to draw ourselves more cards. Block there, looks good. We could potentially have taken it, but I think I'd rather just have the thing dead. Wisdom of the Elder looks solid as well, and yeah, my opponent's stuck on 2, so this should be an easier game. Nothing too crazy happening. Okay. Crest of Order, good, yeah. See, if we hadn't actually put the Long-Lived Queen on the bottom, we would not have drawn that power, so that feels very good as far as decision-making goes. Desert Marshal, still a very powerful card against this setup, but again, like, I think I'm just digging for power every turn, so we'll just do this. Praxis Arcanum can get us started, and it's pretty safe here. I can accelerate Mystic Ascendant, I can refresh nothing. I think we're going to wait one more turn. I've got Scorpion Wasp, I've got ways to defend Praxis Arcanum, and I'm worried about charge units, so we'll go ahead and end our turn here, and we'll just Wisdom of the Elders again next turn. Okay, cool. Our opponent's on 3, so this is a game now. What do we got? We got Secret Pages into 4, yep, so definitely going to be some big things coming down. Or, we could do this. It's a little mean, but, you know, if your opponent's stuck, definitely take advantage of that. Nothing wrong with making sure that your opponent can't hit those big mid-rangey units. Wisdom Elder here. And Crest of Progress or Justice Sigil, either one works. I'd say the Crest of Progress is probably a little bit more interesting, unless I want to play Combre Healer, which I think I do, yeah.
Close your eyes. Listen.
That gets us a defense for Praxis Arcanum, and we can play Mystic Ascendant to draw cards. We've got Temporal Distortion already up and running. We don't have to go too crazy. We're mostly there as far as what we need. And our opponent did find power 4. Good for him. We did use an Unseal on a ramp card, which means that it's possible that his bigger cards, like Stirring Sand, for example, are actually going to be pretty good. Okay. so that means that this Praxis Arcanum is not going to be quite as good. Mystic Ascendant still looks pretty solid. I don't think I want to play it here. I think I want to go ahead and do this. And then I want to Viper's Bite our Combre Healer. Scorpion Wasp costs 2 now, so we don't have to play Depleted Power here. We can just use Crest of Progress. And then another Scorpion Wasp, that's a really good card against Praxis. We'll go ahead and keep a hold of it, even though we would like some counterspells in the near future. Torch on the 2/5, Purify on the 2/5. Getting rid of the deadly units to clear the way for Heart of the Vault. But we kept some of our own, so we're okay. And since I have a Scorpion Wasp here, I can play Temporal Distortion without a lot of fear. Accelerate here on the Mystic Ascendant, because absolutely, why not? Mystic Ascendant would draw me cards, but I think Temporal Distortion makes more sense here. And then we'll just play our Crest, and Aurelian Merchant can fetch all sorts of useful things, including New Tomorrow, Passage of Eons, some pretty powerful stuff. Another Scorpion Wasp even, which could be a very, very useful tool. Okay. Merchant, that grabs... yeah, I'm not sure what that grabs. Time cards that destroy stuff. Okay. Destroying our Temporal Distortion feels a little rough. Not a huge deal since we have another one right there. And in fact, I can play this, I think this turn? Refresh nothing. Just gain still some lives. So, Aurelian Merchant. Let's go ahead and trade the... Man, I really want to trade the Justice Sigil or the Mystic Ascendant here. Let's trade the Scorpion Wasp for it. And do I want a Temporal Distortion or do I want to draw cards? I want to draw cards. Alright. Hailstorm, they're pretty useful. If I'd played the Mystic Ascendant first and drawn the card, I could have traded the Hailstorm for the Scorpion Wasp. That would have been a much better play, but mistakes were made. That's okay. We'll think it through a little bit more carefully next time. Okay, Heart of the Vault hitting face because can't hit the site here. Pretty much guaranteed not to happen. He did pull the Disjunction out of his market, and that's assumably his only market removal. So Temporal Distortion here, plus a Time Sigil. We get to completely refresh our power. We have an 8/8 to defend ourselves, and I don't have to be aggressive here. I'd get to just stand back and hope that everything sticks. We would really, really like to be able to not get, Carnosaur'd here. Any sort of big, scary killer unit is going to be a little bit terrifying. So this is the Stirring Sands deck. This was the deck we thought we were up against last time around. Dawnwalker looks lovely. Stirring Sand is deliciously evil. Okay. You get another Heart of the Vault there, which is some straight damage, and also a big dude. Since we can Hailstorm at fast speed at any time, I don't really see the need to spend it here. Crest of Wisdom is going to allow us to dig for a particular card. We actually get to choose if this is a card that we want. I do want an Unseal. I'm going to go ahead and draw it. And then I'm going to end my turn. I've got a 10/10 and a 6/6. I've got a Hailstorm. Great Kiln Titan is terrifying, especially if he actually finds a relic weapon here, because that allows him to kill Talir. However, I do get to take my extra turn now, so... Hang on a sec, let's count real quick. If I Hailstorm right now, I get an additional 12. It's 12 plus 19 is 31, which is not 33, so don't Hailstorm. Played an Aurelian Merchant off the top. That's nice. An Aurelian Merchant's going to get something for him, but it's probably not going to matter. Because this is the turn where we take an extra turn. Draw my card. Activate Talir. We've got a 14/14 and a 12/12. He can actually kill both of them. Attacking with the Talir seems kind of reasonable, since if we attack with the Talir, then he's got to block with probably this 2 6/6s. I can't use the Hailstorm as a fast speed card, so... I think we're just going to go straight to our additional turn. We don't have to win this turn, we just have to use our extra turn to get ourselves some advantage. Okay, plenty of good stuff happening here. We do have Worldbearer Behemoth, which is very, very strong. Hailstorm gets us to clear basically most of the board. I should have done that actually ahead of time. Long Live the Queen draws us a new card, which could potentially get us a power to play. Or another Talir. I'm pretty down with that. Okay, so now I no longer have to win this turn. I can just play Worldbearer or Explorer, or I can play the second Talir, and we can just keep building things up. I think we're pretty comfy attacking for these two, and just like trading in as much damage as possible. Actually getting the Great Kiln Titan out of the way. Pushing damage. Looks like there's another torch here, or did he forget that he couldn't actually do that? I think that block was a little bit odd. He might have had a torch in hand and not being able to cast it because he didn't realize he was out of power. Passage of Eons, that's an island's choice.
You don't want to make my allies your
And that'll be game. So yeah, this deck is technically control, but it does control the board with creatures, so it's able to spar with some of the big like mid-rangey stuff, and that's pretty important. So yeah, really, really solid list, and having a lot of fun with it so far. Alright, that does it for today. As always, if you want to support the stream, we have a Patreon now. If you want to actually donate some cash, that's a great way to support things. You can also follow me on YouTube or Twitch, and just stay tuned for more stuff. Like, we definitely enjoy having you guys. This has been a lot of fun. So here's the deck we're going to be trying out on stream for the next day or two. This is a Shadow list that basically is swapping the color green for Shadow to get into a supported Trifaction in Defiance Auralian. We have Auralian Cargo here to get a little bit of extra fixing in addition to Find the Way. We have Corrupt, we have Banish, we have Display of Knowledge, which allows us to fetch Temporal Distortion or remove units for a very, very long time, or even give some units Quick Draw, which is really, really powerful, especially on a 14/14 charging Overwhelm Praxis unit, or a big ol' Worldbearer Behemoth. Wingbrewer replaces Explorer for our card draw. We have Ayan the Abductor for a replacement ambush unit for Desert Marshal. Not as good at silencing, so keep that in mind, and if you want to run some more hard removal, that might end up happening. We're definitely going to do some tweaking on this list, and if it ends up being good, we might do an entirely separate brew. Finally, we also have Spell Swipe, because Spell Swipe is delightful, and having Temporal Distortion and Spell Swipe up is really satisfying in some very, very fun ways. So keep that in mind, I guess. There's a Talir's Unwinding in the side in case we need to refresh our hand. This looks like a lot of fun. We're definitely going to be testing this on stream, so feel free to follow along on Twitch if you like. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a really good night. I will see you soon with more Eternal Brews. Bye.